whole new world that we didn't know. Like even this small thing about fa having connected to opening. Now I see, every time I see fa in the Quran, I try to see is there a connection within that and opening. And has anybody studied tajweed here? And it says I'm an Arabic and tajweed teacher. I have taught Arabic and tajweed. My wife is the real tajweed teacher in the house. She has an ijazah in teaching tajweed. But I mostly am on the entrepreneurial management side, although I have to be able to do a little bit of the content stuff when I need to in order to connect with the meaning, and I also love the content. But if anyone says tajweed, there's makharij al-huruf. It's actually a science that Muslims have led and it's actually impacted a lot of other sciences, vocal sciences that were developed later, about where letters exit from. So if you say ha, it's deeper. If you say kha, it's kind of in the middle. If you say fa, it's on the top. La is on the top. Ma is on the top. Right? So there's different places. And those exits often are connected to the meaning. Everything in Arabic, because it's a divine language, we believe it's sama'i, right? It's from the sky. And if the word sama', to hear, is also connected to sama', to the sky. So hearing and the sky, there's a connection there because we believe it's divine, it's from heaven. That there's meaning and significance at every letter. So that letter fa even has to do with opening. If we look at gha, we'll get to that. Gha often has a certain meaning. If you look at ghaib, ghadab, ghad, right? Oftentimes ghain has a certain type of meaning, right? Sheen, right? Sha has a certain type of meaning. How does sha sound to you? Sha. Sha. It fills up your mouth and it kind of goes out, right? If you're not careful, you could spit if you're saying sha, right? It's kind of a spreading type of sound. And so we'll look into that, a little foreshadowing and jumping ahead a little bit. So, where did my clicker go? Okay, here we go. So again, we're at Lums here today. Stage lights. What does a stage light do? So Junoon just had a concert in Dubai. One of my friends attended it. You guys don't seem like Junoon fans. No? Okay, bad reference. Okay, somebody should have. But if anyone is up, and some of this sounds sacrilegious, talk about Junoon or Kirkan, we'll talk about movies in a second. But the point is to make the connection, the analogy, so that we can all connect to it, right? So if you look at a stage, unless you have the lighting on the stage, if this was a dark room, we couldn't, I'm not much to look at, but most of the performers, you're going to have a stage light on there that allows you to connect with what's happening on stage. If you think of the Quran as a performance, right? Fatiha is the stage lights that puts the light so that you can look at it within the context, and it opens up the Quran and it allows you to fully look at it from that angle. And hence, every time we read the Quran, we're starting with Fatiha. Every time we start the prayer, we're starting with Fatiha. We often, special occasions in life, we're doing Fatiha to begin it, right? To add the barakah, to add that blessing. What's khatam mean? So I'm using a little Urdu. Khatam.
Finish.
Khatam ho gaya. Okay? Quran ko kya karte hain? Khatam karte hain. We finish it, right? First of all, that's a very loose word to use because you don't finish the Quran. That's not. Khatam ho gaya. It means it ended. So the Quran doesn't have a beginning or end. It's divine speech, right? So again, we have this concept of the Quran. What does a Quran look like? It's a book. When we think, if you close your eyes and you think of Quran, you think of a book. Everyone may think of a different color book, a different size book, but we think of a book. But the Quran is a recitation. The Sahaba, they didn't view the Quran as a book. They didn't even view a masjid as a building. They had an open-air masjid. They would pray on straw mats and things like that. Our view and our understanding of Islam is very much shaped by our environment. When we think of a religious person, we think of a Maulvi, we think of somebody with a beard, somebody with a niqab, somebody who's, very serious sometimes. We have different perceptions. So words take on entire connotations based on our experiences that may not be coming from the Quran, but we're reading into it ourselves, right? So when we think of khatam, there's all these connotations, and that's why I believe when we translate it, all the meanings that come with the translations come into the meaning of the Quran that we're bringing in that may not be from the Quran itself. So the Arabic language, it doesn't remove all barriers, but it removes some of those layers of misunderstanding that can come from our context, right? So if you think of khatam, Quran khatam, right? In Arabic, the word for ring is khatam. Khatam, right? What do you do when you finish the Quran? Where do you go? You go to the beginning, to the Fatiha. And again, we're looking at Nas's ending and Fatiha at the beginning. If we can do one thing today, is remove that notion that Fatiha is in the beginning and Nas is at the ending, because we're looking at it as a book, we're looking at it as a linear book from beginning to end. And if we read the Quran as a linear book, like a textbook, like an engineering book, and we try to interpret it like that, and we don't look at the art and the sophistication and the literature aspect, even putting the divine nature of the Quran and the revelation aside, if we don't look at it from a multi-layered approach, and Arabic helps us with that, we can completely have a misunderstanding, because that book format, that linear format, beginning to end, Fatiha to ending, is not necessarily how the Quran was revealed. It wasn't even revealed in that order. The chronological order of the Quran is different than the systematic order of the Quran. So, if we look at ring, what is a ring? Does anyone have a ring? Look at this ring. Okay, the ring is not linear. It's cyclical, circular, right? So, what is in the beginning, in the middle of a ring? What's in the middle? It's open. It's open. So just like in Arabic, khatam is a ring, and khatam al-Rasul is also a seal, and khatam is to finish, that there's a connection between that and coming to the beginning that's circular. And I would say Fatiha is not the ending of the Quran, but it's actually the opening in the ring. It's or you could say the jewel on top of the Quran, on top of the ring. That is the jewel. In fact, they say, not they, Imam Ali said that the Fatiha contains the meanings of all the Quran. That all the significant meanings of the Quran can be summarized in the Fatiha, and we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, I want to have a quick exercise. I'm cognizant of time, so we'll keep this quick, but I want everyone to kind of wake up and stay engaged. Who reads the translation of the Quran? Who reads it? Okay, most people read the Quran. Is there anything in the English translation, I grew up on Yusuf Ali, that strikes you as powerful? Because we're going to compare the English to the Arabic. Good. Somebody... What stands out to you when you read the translation? In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the world. Most gracious, most merciful. Is there any part that connects with you that you feel is very profound? Yeah.
Thee do we worship and thine aid we seek.
Thee we worship and thine aid we seek. Why?
There is no, because in the past there have been some events, so to speak, but this particular verse was, something which really made me kind of, move on in those times.
Okay. So it connect with you personally in your life. There's a symmetry there, right? There's a symmetry there of cause and effect type thing. Okay? Anything else? Yes?
When I say Rabbul Alameen, it's really powerful, it's beautiful.
In Arabic?
Yeah, in Arabic.
Do you get that same meaning when you say Lord of the Cherisher and Sustainer of the Worlds? Not really? You get it in Arabic. So, there's beauty in English. In fact, a lot of people who became Muslim in the U.S., Malcolm X and others, they became Muslim through the translation. So I don't want to downplay the translation, the importance of the translation, but the Arabic has a different layer of meaning. In fact, one of our teachers, Suhaib Wahb, he said that it's like watching a movie in black and white versus watching in like 3D, high definition, surround sound, right? Arabic gives you those 3D glasses by which you can get a deeper meaning and more full understanding versus black and white, right? So now, can somebody read the Arabic? Anybody who raised their hand for tajweed? Anyone can read the Arabic? Please. Okay, and I want everyone to close their eyes and contemplate on the Arabic. If you can read it with the tajweed too. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So how is the Arabic now? What does that give you? What does the Arabic? You mentioned Rabbul Alameen has a powerful impact. Yeah. What about the sound of it? Even if you don't know the meaning, what about the sound? How is it different? Anyone? There's a rhyming component, right? There's a rhyming Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Yawm ad-Din. So there's a rhythm to the Quran that first of all, that rhythm is lost in the English, right? Even there's some words that zalzala gives you a sense. What does zalzala mean? It's also Urdu. You guys are cheating. You guys know Urdu. Zilzal, right? That there's like a shaking in the word itself. There's a meaning. Many words we've tried it in our classrooms. Like people who've never studied Arabic, they didn't grow up on Arabic, they don't know Urdu, converts. They close their eyes and you tell them a word, and you say, "Is it a positive or negative word?" Oftentimes they can tell whether it's a positive or negative word. If you see word like, if you read passages about Jannah versus Jahannam, you'll get a different sense of the letters being used. You'll see softer letters for Jannah. You'll see more heavy letters for Jahannam. Even the word Jahannam versus Jannah, right? There's a difference. You'll see more jeems and seens and softer letters versus Gha and Kha and more heavy, difficult letters. So definitely the sound of it is lost in translation, right? What else do you see here? What else do you see? What's unique about the Arabic? Yes?
More
Precise. And which word are you thinking about when you say
The word
Rab?
the translation was cherisher and...
Yes, that's perfect. Like Rab has a different meaning than Lord. Lord, I mean, Lord is a title in English, right? So if people have that Lord concept, it's a different understanding. Then Rab has connection with tarbiyah. Tarbiyah is to raise someone up. Somebody, Tariq Ramadan translates it as educator, the one who nurtures or educates. It's not the one necessarily, doesn't have the connotation of ruling over. So you have Rabb and Allah, those two names that we often see, often look at when is Allah used and when is Rabb used. You'll see a difference in when and the wisdom by which they say everything in the Quran is maqsood. That when we write a book, right? Who's written a book here? Anyone's written a book? You guys are LUM students? Come on. All right. So when you do write a book, all right, you will see that, if somebody asks you, why did you use this word in page 50? You'll say, it was the first thing that came to my mind. I could have used this word. I could have used that word. But in the Quran, everything is maqsood. You can analyze why was Allah, lafdul jalala, used and why was Rabb used? What was the significance? Why was this name, the 99 names of Allah, they're all over the Quran. Try to look at why those names are used in those ayahs versus other names. And there's amazing wisdom. So words and precision and subtlety is really where the beauty is. I mean, mashallah, Lahore, the city of art. I see fountains and art schools everywhere. Alhambra Institute, right? What is beauty in art? I can't even tell a masterpiece from just a nice artwork, right? Manhal, my cousin, she's an artist, so she probably can. But it's in the stroke, it's in the subtleties, it's in the details. So even the beauty of the Quran, oftentimes you read it quickly, you won't get that beauty unless you get into the subtleties and the details. That's really where the beauty comes out. Okay? One of the obvious ones you see is Rahman and Rahim. How is that different than merciful and gracious? What does merciful mean? What does gracious mean? I have trouble with those words. Oftentimes, mercy, even in French, merci, right? is thank you. Gracious in Spanish, gracias is thank you. So there's a connection with like thank you. Mercy has to do with like if somebody's going to be executed, right, in English, and they say have mercy, have clemency, has to do with clemency, is something bad's going to happen and remove that bad, right? And growing up, if you ever played the game Mercy, do you guys play the game Mercy? I'm trying to connect with you guys. Come on, help me. All right? I have to get to... Well, Fatiha is like the opening batsman. All right? I shouldn't talk about cricket after what happened with the Pakistan-South Africa game. But it's... Okay, Mercy... for me, having a brother, we played Mercy. It's basically a game in which you're trying to hurt the other person until they say mercy. It's kind of like tapping out of wrestling, right? You tap out. You guys know Khabib, right? And the wrestler... Okay, I'm trying to connect. So when they tap out, that's like, in my connotation, mercy is like tapping out. It's like something bad's going to happen, and the person has... So when I'm thinking about Allah as merciful, oftentimes I'm looking at that as like, He's not going to punish me for doing bad. Something like that, right? But if you look at the Arabic, it's completely different. First of all, the roots, rahma, is from rahma, for Rahman and Rahim. The connection in the two words is there. Merciful, gracious, no connection in those words. So you lose that connection, you get it in Arabic. Rahama, the roots. Even the concept of roots is very different in English, it's barely there. Right? In Arabic, you can get all words in Arabic, all nouns and verbs, not huruf. There are three types of words we're going to get into, that they're going to have a three-letter root, and that connects words together. So if you have the word madrasa versus mudarris versus dars, there's a connection there. If you learn the roots, it actually helps you multiply your vocab very easily, and that's part of the logic and systematic approach of Arabic. Who knew that there are roots in Arabic? Most of you do. Okay, you guys know everything. But those roots we're going to get into here, rahama. Does anyone know what that root means? Womb. The rahim. All right? So we're going to get into three words. What's the word that you know from rahim? The two words. Well, to connect. One of the primary reason I visited Lahore was to visit my dadi. What's that called if you're trying to connect with people of your relatives? Silatul Rahim. Silatul Rahim is the connection of the womb. So literally, relatives, Rishdar, in Arabic, your sibling is called shaqiq. It's literally came out, cleaved from the same location. Why? All of our relationships, if you think about it, is connected to the womb. We share the womb with our siblings. Our womb to our mother, that's our connection to our father. All of our rishtadari, all of our relationships starts at the womb. And that's where our source of life is also at the womb. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses Rahman and Rahim. If you think, how many times is that root used in this short passage? How many times? Rahama. How many times? All right, first of all, everyone knows Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is part of Fatiha. Most people believe, most schools of thought believe that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is part of Fatiha. Right? It's not part of all the other surahs, but it's part of Fatiha. So if you consider this as ayah 1, how many times is the Rahama used? 4 times. Here and here. So in the final revelation to mankind, the most recited verses in history, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you think of a movie trailer, how is a movie trailer? Is it long or short? It's short, right? It's short, it only has the essential parts, it captures your attention. Now, if something is repeated I would say this is sacrilegious, and you guys are going to get mad at me. The Fatiha is like the movie trailer to the Quran, right? It gives you a snapshot, it gets you excited, it opens the door to the rest of the Quran, which is the answer to the Fatiha. In that short piece, Rahama is used 4 times, which has to do with mercy. كَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ رَحْمَةً وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote, like he put rahmah, and his rahmah comes over his ghadab, his anger. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا. And this is such a powerful way of saying it, that he was not sent. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا. There's an aspect of Arabic that gets you stunned, right? وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. What does that mean? That woe to those who pray. Gets your attention and then gives you the exception, right? وَالْأَصْلِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. That verily man is lost, completely destroyed. Now, for us, we know what's coming. It's like you've watched a movie, or you've watched something and you know what's going to happen in the end, and your friend doesn't know what's happening, and they're worried, and then you know what's going to happen, right? The Sahaba, people are reciting for the first time, they don't know what's going to happen next, right? We often think the Prophet ﷺ and those around him knew that they're going to be victorious in all these things. Maybe there's opinions that the Prophet ﷺ knew, but there's so many people going on for the journey and they don't know what's going to happen. When you're looking back at it, it looks like it's a happy ending, it's a fairy tale ending, it's a happily ever after. They don't know because there are a lot of prophets that were killed. There are a lot of prophets, there are a lot of people that were, they were destroyed, they were burnt, they don't know what the ending is. And so when the Quran says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ, we did not send you. I mean, first of all, everyone is saying around the Prophet, you were not sent. And now that it's coming, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ, we did not send you, إِلَّا, only the reason we sent you was رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. It was only a mercy. So that emphasis, La ilaha, they joke that the atheist is half a Muslim. Right? Because they say La ilaha, they just don't say illallah. So they get halfway there. La ilaha, there's no God. Right? Illallah, except Allah. So it's a very powerful way of saying this, right? It's just negating something and then adding the exception later on to emphasize that La ilaha illa wa ma arsalnaka illa rasul wa ma Muhammadun illa rasul. So many times in the Quran that powerful saying is lost in English, it's lost in translation oftentimes. Okay, so now first lesson we teach at Fawaqih is 3 types of words. Now Arabic can seem very confusing, but if this helps you, that every word you see is either a ism, fi'l, or a harf. It's a noun, verb, or a particle. Very easy way to understand it is there's 2 components to all of these. Time, zaman, and ma'na, and meaning. Independent meaning. So a verb has time. So if you say, I sat down, when did I sit? Past tense. Okay, I will stand up. When will I stand up? Future. So verbs have time in Arabic. Nouns do not have time. So what is this? Chair. Chair is outside of time. Right? But a verb is in time. That's very important. In English, can you say a sentence without a verb? Can someone give me a sentence without a verb? This is a chair. There's no verb? Who thinks it's a verb? Is a verb. Is a dangerous word. Dangerous word. I'll tell you why. Okay? Who can translate Allahu Ahad? God is one. How many words is that? 3. How many words is Allahu Ahad in Arabic? 2. What did you add? Is. And that destroys the sentence. Why? What does Allahu Ahad mean? We recite this every day when we're running late for class. We're running late for something. Say, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad. We recite it in prayer to get prayer done quickly. And it's so powerful if we think about it, if we reflect. Part of it is slowing down.
It is independent of time.
Independent of time. So Allahu Ahad is a nominal sentence, not a verbal sentence. In Arabic, there's 2 types of sentences. In English, you can't speak unless you're like a caveman. They have caveman talk. Rock, here. You can't talk in English without using verbs. You sound, ridiculous. So you add is just to fill in the blank. But is, what does is mean? Is it? We said it's a verb, so it has to have time. So is when? Present. So it's putting God in our mind when we're thinking about God in language. Allah is one. So then what was He? And now all these questions come up. When did Allah start? When will all this stuff? So you have to and actually translate Allahu Ahad properly. How do you have to say it? You have to say 3 lines. Allah is one. Allah was one. Allah will be one. Because it has to contain all those meanings. Because you added that is. So you add so many things in the Quran without thinking about it, but it has so much implication in the way we think. So Arabic you can speak in nominal sentences. No is needed. Okay, going back to the summary of the Quran in Fatiha. Ali radiallahu anhu said this, that the Quran is summarized in Fatiha. Fatiha is summarized in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is summarized in the ba. And it keeps going. The ba is summarized in the dot, but that's too esoteric, okay? But I never understood what that meant. And I came to understand a little bit more, so I'll share some of my understanding. But one of the teachers, they mentioned that if you look at all the topics in the Quran, they are covered at a high level in the Fatiha. What are some of the topics in the Quran? Throw some things out. What does the Quran talk about? Sorry? Hell and heaven. Got it. Hereafter. Tawheed. Risala. Message. Sharia. Law. And how to live. What to do, what not to do. What else?
Prophet stories.
Stories. Who said that? Okay, good. Yeah, it's good. Stories of the Prophet. What else?
Mercy and wrath of Allah.
Mercy about Allah. Just about Allah. Everything about Allah. 99 names, who Allah is, all this. Signs of the Day of Judgment, signs of looking around, reflecting. Okay, all of those are summarized within Fatiha. They say the first part of Fatiha is the most comprehensive description that we have of Allah. The most comprehensive. It was only given to the Prophet as a gift. A comprehensive understanding of who Allah is. His essence, His rahmah, what His role is on the Day of Judgment. All of that is summarized in just a few ayahs in the beginning. Right? People say the Prophet stories. Oh, you don't have stories of the Prophets, but you have the different categories. They were all from An'amta alayhim, those who were blessed. Right? All the stories of other people who were destroyed or people went astray is all in Maghdub and Dhaleen. So all of that is encompassed within the Fatiha. So if we fully grasp the Fatiha, it will open up. And then even the entire Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim, guide us to the straight path, that summarizes what the entire purpose of the Quran is, which is guidance. Right? It summarizes the Rahmatul Alameen, the reason the Prophet was sent was that mercy. It gives us the concept of the hereafter, Maliki Yawmuddin, the master of the Day of Judgment. Yawmuddin and all the signs of the Day of Judgment, all that is expounded on the Quran. So it gives us those key highlights of the key topics within the Quran. Now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that's another stretch. Why? And we start everything with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, right? Why? Because it's the intention. Innamal a'malu binniyah. All action is by intention. So this sets your intention. They say anything that doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is maqtur. It's cut off. So it establishes that connection. Connection. It's a key word. Alright? In the name of Allah. Now, what about the ba? Now, let's look at something here. How do you spell ism? We went over here. How do you spell ism? Alif seen here. Where's the alif? It's missing. Yeah, so we wouldn't say it's missing, it's purpose. Anything in the Quran is maqsood, we say it's purposeful. Right? There's different opinions. Some say it's a kathatul istifdam, that from using it a lot, that it was more convenient to write it. But that's really difficult to believe that, that alif and ism is dropped because of just using it too much, right? There is a interesting thing. It doesn't say billahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's not saying by Allah or with Allah or in Allah, anything like that, astaghfirullah. It's saying bi ismillah, that the connection that we have is not directly to the that of Allah, that we have to go through the names and the knowledge He gave us. Allam Allahu Adam asma, that Allah taught Adam the names. So it elevates the importance of naming and the importance. They say a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, right? Shakespeare. But in fact, the words and the meaning are connected to the names. I believe firmly that if somebody's named something, there's a connection that person has to the name that they have. They often say the significance. The Prophet ﷺ changed the names of certain people. And some of those characteristics of certain people, when they were negotiating Hudaybiyah, who came out? Anyone knows who came out to negotiate from the Quraysh? Suhail. And the Prophet said that's a good sign. His names come from Sahel, from easy. That there's a connection that we have to our names. My name is Saif, so So don't get too close. All right? My name means sword. All right. It's good. And my last name is Omar, so that's also tough. But ask my wife. So basically, the names have a lot of significance, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ's name Muhammad, the most praised ones from Hamd, right? His mother's name is Amina, like the believer. I mean, these are not random occurrences. There's significance to everything that's happening. We sometimes dismiss it. So one, is connected to the name of Allah. So it gives us a pathway to understand Allah is through the names of Allah. That if we master the names, if we understand the names, we can understand Allah's characteristics and attributes. And then the ba is connected to the ism. It's giving us a sense that... Okay, first of all, before I'll backtrack. The ba itself, every letter has significance. This ba is not just like any ba. And this is why people sometimes misunderstand Quran, or they can misunderstand. They haven't learned all the sciences of Quran and all the different sciences that need to interpret the Quran. It's a journey. That ba is actually not... How do you translate ba? With. What does that mean? With the name of Allah. With the name of Allah? For me, it doesn't really have I always skip over that part. I don't understand with the name of Allah. What is that? It doesn't... First of all, it's not a full sentence, right? It's a partial sentence. And one of the wisdoms of that is that you can say anything. I begin with the name of Allah. I eat in the name of Allah, with the name of Allah. But the with and in doesn't really connect with me, because this ba is actually called ba al-isti'ana. The ba of seeking help. Ba al-isti'ana. Ba and aun. In isti'ana, the roots we're talking about, roots of isti'ana is from aun, is help. Right? That ba is called the ba al-isti'ana because the better way to translate or understand it, it's seeking help in the name of Allah. That we're seeking help. And if we go to Fatiha, it's ihdina siratal mustaqim, guide us to straight path. That ba, it contains the meaning of seeking help. Right? And we know that hudan lil muttaqin, that this is a guidance for those who believe, who have taqwa, that once you, the one who seeks will find. And what you're seeking is also seeking you, right? So all of that has to do with the seeking part. And opening of guidance has to do with asking and opening up yourself and seeking and coming to it with that humility. And that ba contains all those meanings of seeking help. And the entire purpose of our creation is to understand, when you're seeking help, you understand Allah's role and your role. And your connection to Allah is one of dependence. And He is independent. All of that is contained within that ba. That act of seeking help is putting you in the right place, the right mindset for guidance. And in the end of the day, if you don't know anything, but you're in that right state, that state, the hal, the position you're in, that you understand your position to Allah and you have that sincerity, you have that taqwa, that is what, right? The qalbun salim, that ma yanfa'u ma'lun wa la banun illa man atallaha bi qalbin salim. No, none of this will help you except who comes to God with that sound salim heart, right? That is what that ba is putting you in place of, right? Now, if you look at this, everything in Fatiha, in the beginning of Fatiha, I put it as, I color coded this, is green. I mean, sorry, it's that's not the right color coding. I'll get to that a little bit later. But basically, the ba is a harf. We said the three categories. The ba is a particle. The ism is an ism. All these are nouns. The ba is a particle. So we've taken the meaningless, doesn't have an independent meaning, and now we've made it the most meaningful part. And how did it become meaningful? It became meaningful when it was connected to what? To ism of Allah. Okay, let's just take a pause and think about this. That meaningless particle became significant when it was connected to what? Ism of Allah. So that means this ba is useless. It's asfal safili. It's like it has no meaning unless it's connected to the ism of Allah. And so much so that the alif is not even there to divide that. Right? If you write alif in here, you would write it like this. ba, and there's alif, there's a little division. Without the alif, there's a direct connection to the ism. And so what is that an analogy of? Wallahu a'lam. That by connecting oneself to the names of Allah, to the Quran, to understanding of knowledge of Allah, that meaninglessness, a life, I'm getting it's like a tongue twister, a life devoid of meaning can become meaningful. So that can be an example for ourselves, because we ourselves have so much meaning, but our meaning is connected to our knowledge. So this really, we think it's insignificant, but if you look at human history and the words that came, Iqra, to read as the starting of revelation, to repeating the names of the importance of the name and the words, that this led an entire civilization of Arabs who were unlettered mostly. They were not known for their books or libraries. In fact, Alexander the Great came in to conquer, and he went around. He didn't even conquer. Nobody ever conquered the Arabian Peninsula. There was divine wisdom there too, but also because there wasn't really much to take. There wasn't hadara, there wasn't a strong civilization, but they did have language. And through that, they were able to, open up knowledge when the time came. So, Rahman Rahim has the similar roots. I mentioned the connection to the womb earlier, Silatul Rahim. Now, this has a lot to do with empowerment, especially of women. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the words that are connected to the womb to describe Himself, although Allah has no gender. But imagine the nobility of the womb, right? That it uplifts that relationship, and that's done throughout the hadith and the Quran, is the upliftment of that relationship with the mother, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that there's any connection. I'm not trying to say anything negative about Urdu. But what's the word in Urdu for woman? Aurat. Where does that word come from? Aura. Aura is the part you hide. Right? So I do believe that words that we use and the language that we have, whether absently or for a purpose, have an impact on how we view things. Aura, I remember when I was studying Arabic and I realized, aura means it's from aura, right? It's like the part. Now, aura there's beautiful thing about, there's beauty in things that are mysterious or hidden or jewels or safe. There's all that stuff. But if you just look at the word, it's interesting for us to look at these things, right? And the word here for Rahim is so lofty, it's connected to Allah, right? Connected to Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the source of mercy on the earth. Okay, this is a little bit of a stretch to get, but I wanted to show you this. It's connected to the womb, Rahim. Aisha radiallahu anha said in a hadith from the Prophet that the womb is suspended from the arsh, from the throne. That there's a connection between the womb and the throne, the arsh of Allah. And Ar-Rahman ala al-arsh istawa. And it brings it full circle, because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the arsh, He could have said Allah ala al-arsh istawa. Could have used anything else, right? Al-Aziz. Normally if you think about a throne, you think about power. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala flips it on us and uses the word Ar-Rahman ala al-arsh istawa, connecting it again to the womb and connecting it again to Rahmah and mercy, even on the throne. That should be a lesson for us. What's the difference between Rahman and Rahim? They say الزيادة في المعنى الزيادة في المعنى تدل على زيادة في المعنى. Okay? زيادة في المبنى تدل على زيادة في المعنى. That increasing in the structure of a word adds to the meaning of the word. So the difference between here, you guys always hear 786. This is part of why it's here. This is how they get those numbers from. Okay, we won't get into that, but Ar-Rahman Rahim, Ar-Rahman has 8 parts, 8 letters that are connected, if you consider this as part of that, right? And Rahim has 7. So what's the difference between Rahman and Rahim in meaning? They're very similar. There's a connection between that form, that sigha, like atshan, jo'an, all these things that I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. It has to do with temporarily. and it has to do with full. Okay? So it's full but temporary. Okay? It has to do with now. It has to do with dunya. And it's also in tajweed, we're talking about the effect the sounds have. Ar-Rahman is how many counts? 2. You can have 2 to 6 counts. Ar-Rahman is 2. You can't say it really long to beautify it or whatever. There's rules. Ar-Rahim can go 2, 4, 6. Okay, so it can be long. And the understanding of Rahim is it's a sifa thabit. It's like a permanent characteristic that it doesn't end. Okay, but there's a connotation in Arabic that form is contained. It's not open-ended. It's contained. It's a characteristic versus Rahman is full of something. So somebody could say that Allah is full of mercy, but it could end in somebody's mind that there's a complementary process between these two words that give you the full meaning to when they put together, that Allah is full of mercy and it's a permanent mercy. It's going to last. It's not going to change on you. Because you would think that form may give someone the indication that there's a change. So they're so complementary that you get the full meaning when they're together. Ibn Abbas was asked what's the difference. He says, Ar-Rahman fi dunya wal Rahim fil akhirah. That if you look at it, and somebody gave an analogy, I don't remember who this was, that it's like a sun. Okay? The sun warmth is like the Rahman. That it goes, is wide, is for everyone. Right? Rahim, وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ Rahim. That with the believer, there's a special type of Rahim. It's like the sun ray. That the sun ray may hit different people, but the sun is present for everyone. Right? So those are the analogies that we use. وَلِلَّهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. And Allah has the highest of no analogy can encompass Allah. And we're not trying to visualize or anything like that. But those are examples teachers give. Like they say that Allah's mercy is like when you sin and you come back to Allah, it's like a child that runs back to the mom. Right? We don't want to make any analogies that Allah is like that, but that helps us gain those understandings, just like the examples of heaven and hell and all these things. Okay, quick thing, because we're running out of time. Malik versus Malik. There's different qira'at of the Quran, and they all add different meanings. So Malik and Malik give 2 different meanings. Malik is a owner. Malik is a king. King and an owner is different. King has all authority, but they don't own everything. Malik actually owns everything. So both of those meanings put together gives us a better understanding and a different angle as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's role on the Day of Judgment, that He's the owner of everything, which has to do with how His justice can be applied and whether He's fair or not fair, and the awe as well on that. And what's amazing is the way Malik is written is that, sorry, it got messed up a little bit, that there's a dagger alif. Have you seen? It's not an alif. It's a small alif, because when you read the Uthmani script, removing all the dots and fatha dhamma kasra, all the qira'at is read with the same basic script. But only when you add those other parts does the recitation change. So that's, I think, it's an amazing miracle that it was revealed in a way that it could take on different dialects, or the common dialects of the era.